was that? What I missed? Oh, y'all smell alarming in people. But think about that. I mean, what is the deal? I mean, so why are we doing these things? These things are to remind you. They remind you that we have obligations. Lance, do y'all have to have a reminder set every day to take your dog to the daycare? You know why? You know your obligations, because if you don't take your dog, what's going to happen?
Being a kennel all day.
Crazy.
Huh?
Being a kennel all day barking.
Exactly. So the thing is that then why should we do these things? Why should we study these things? Why should we have an understanding of these things? Because it's real. And we need to be questioning these things. We don't need, because the Bible, everything we just read talked about people turning off their brains. Talked about them turning off their minds. Other things become more important. Other things want to distract us. Other things want to take away from what's really going on around us. And I think that there's a part of us that wants that, because we all want to be able to convince ourselves that what we're doing is right. But why do we need to convince ourselves that what we're doing is right?
We can keep doing it.
What are you going to think, Emily?
I was just thinking.
You had a thought. What was it?
I don't know. I lost it.
I like David's, because we want to do what? I will give you
Keep doing it.
I'll give you a clue. That if you have to question what you're doing, it's wrong. You know it. It's wrong. It's wrong. And the thing is that we are facing times that we should be looking at this stuff and asking ourselves, so then what can we do about any of this stuff? What can we do about the school systems? What can we do about politics? What is any of that? Can we do anything about it? What can we do with it, should I say? I watched a guy the other day making a comment, and this person is talking about getting all their guns and how they're going to go up there and we're going to change the world. And I'm thinking to myself, that's not the message of God. That's not what he said to do. You know, I think, again, it should be an awakening of our consciousness. It should be telling us that, hey, you know, it is time that we understand, if nothing else, Billy, we should be understanding that we're not going to live forever. We are one breath away from being a memory. I think a lot of my sister who passed, and I think of how much hatred she lived with. And I wonder what that hatred has fueled now, Carrie. I don't know. All I can pray that God, you know, has forgiven her, that, you know, somewhere in this. But, you know, the Bible is clear that if you hate somebody, then you're in trouble. You're in trouble. If you can't forgive somebody, you can't be forgiven. So again, for me, I think the end time studies are very, very, very important. But I think that the most important study we could be doing is the now time living. I was telling somebody the other day, and I live by this. I don't think that God cares so much about what you've done. I believe that he cares more about what you do. Does that make sense? I know that there are sins, Billy. I know that there are wages of sin. I know that. I believe that. But if there are wages of sin, then wouldn't there be wages of life and good? I believe that, because he talked about the tree, the fruit of the tree. What fruit do you bear forth every day? So if by your sin we bear the fruit of judgment and condemnation, then by the gifts of grace and the fruits of grace, then what are the fruits of grace? An ideal or a concept of grace is what? They say that grace is doing something and forgiving them for something that you can't forgive yourself of. And grace is a hard thing. But that's one of the reasons why I don't want to go out of this world knowing that I hate somebody. If I hate somebody, then I need to check myself. I need to find out what it is. If there's a thing that is telling me, and that's what I use the end time studies on and thinking about the end times, because it reminds me that one day this is all going to be over. But it also scares me because I look at our kids and how much do our kids know about it? What are our kids starting to understand? What are they going to say? What is their world going to be like? And did we have a chance to do anything about it? Did we have a chance to teach them to be prepared for it? And if we ourselves are turning our minds off to it and we're ignoring it, then where does that put our kids? Think about it, Emily. You thought about one day, you had this thing, this dream of, it's terrifying as it is, but a baby lamb's running around the world.
Yeah.
And the thing is that I remember when I was a kid, man, we ran everywhere. We were everywhere. I was Bladen Zane's age riding a bicycle all over Conway. Amber freaked out last night because she thought that Zane was over there at the school without nobody last night. And the thing is that there are places that there's no safety for our kids anymore. So, I guess what I'm trying to get at is that, isn't it time? I look at our church and I ask the question, are we going in the right direction? I feel that we are. But is it bearing fruit? Because here's the thing. You realize that we will be judged. This church will be judged by our fruit. I was encouraged this morning when I seen the kids that AJ and Jessica brought in. And I think about them and I think about how they stay attacked. And why do they stay attacked? Because they did what? Huh?
Because they're bringing fruit.
So the thing is that for me, I use this as a barometer. That if you are coming attacked because you're trying to do the right thing, how do I know that we're going the right direction? Because we become attacked. We get questioned. Different little challenges, different little things. If you are not under attack, in other words, something's not coming at you, you either got two things. If you're wrong and living in the wrong direction, you're going to come under God's correction. He's going to withhold. He's going to do things, because how else is he going to get your attention? How else is he going to get your attention? And you got to look back and say, well, what has been placed in my priority? What is my priority? Well, if I've been doing this, you notice how we justify it? What I'm wanting us to do is to look at our lives and ask this question. Are we ready? Have we done our job? And I love the verse in the Bible that it says that he wants to be found doing his job. Because, Carrie, did we all not make a promise that we would live a certain lifestyle and we would live a certain way? And how close to that promise are we? We all promised that when we were young kids, that when we were, being in trouble and our parents was not great to us, and we all said we would do what? Not be like our parents, huh? When I become a parent, I'm going to be a cool parent. Well, how's that working out? It's where you say that, well, I don't want my kids to hate me because I'm correcting them. Well, that's not a parent. It has been said that if you are in a position of leadership, and if in your position of leadership you've not upset somebody, then guess what? You're not. You're not a leader. Lance, if you don't make somebody upset because they've not done their job, or they're not doing their job, and you've not upset them, then you're not the leader of your business. They are. So here's the thing, is that if somebody gets upset by what we're talking about and some of the things that we're saying, it only means we're doing our job. But just because somebody has bad breath, there are ways that we can say, hey, you're, like I told Addison this morning, hey, your breath smells like Amy's butt. You know, there's ways you can say that, or hey, would you like a Tic Tac? There's ways we can say this thing. So, all that being said, we will continue our study, but I'm not trying to do this study in an attempt to scare you. I don't want to scare you. I think you should already be afraid. Because they said the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. To know that, I think that we should all have this ability to say, what if I am wrong? What if everything that I believe, in other words, let me rephrase this. Not everything that you believe, everything that you've convinced yourself. Because where you're at right now is the sum of you convincing yourself. It's like a thief. A thief convinces himself or herself that they need that. And the more that they convince that they need something, what happens? A liar builds the whole thing. Every one of us right now in our life, where we're at right now, it's like we had some friends reach out to us not long ago, well, a few months ago, and they were friends at our former church. And they wanted to reconnect. Well, Carrie, there's a reason we fell apart. And I'm not one to go backwards. And I don't know their lives now. I know that our Christian life is nowhere near what it was then. You know? And so the thing is that where are we now compared to where we were then? So, if anything, look at yourself. Take this study as a chance. Ask God to reveal to you something you need to see. You ever ask God, I mean, how often do you really truly ask God to reveal what you need to see? You ever thought about that? Have you ever, have you really asked God to say, so do we ask God to reveal, what should we ask God? He said, you have not because you ask not. In other words, you have no revelation, you have no sight, you have nothing. Because what? We don't want to see, do we? But yet, if we're going to go out, Bailey, what's the first thing we're going to do? We're going to go to the mirror, aren't we? Why? We want to see what we think we look like. How come we don't want to hold a mirror to our soul? Because we don't want to what? But the question is that if our flesh is going to waste away and the soul is eternal, which should we give more thought to? Somebody dismiss us. Dave, you going to dismiss us?
Yeah. Thank you, God, for a good message of church.